Hey, horror fans! Once again, it is me, the Horror Miser Money G. It's time to review the next horror movie on my slate for the month of March. Yes, this is the surreal horror film called Lovely, Dark, and Deep. I don't think you want to go into this woods.
Y'all ready for this?
Hey, horror fans! Once again, it is me, the Horror Miser Money G. Now, Lovely, Dark, and Deep is a 2023 American horror film that was written and directed by Teresa Sutherland. The film stars Georgina Campbell, Nick Blood, and Wei Ching Hu. Now, in this film, we have Lennon, a new backcountry ranger, travels alone through the dangerous wilderness, hoping to uncover the origins of a tragedy that has haunted her since she was a child. Oh, poor Lennon. Now, horror fans, most subgenres of a horror films, such as slashers, creature features, and zombies, they're more directed and easier for horror fans to understand. And the basic concept when it comes to slashers and creature features and zombie films, those films are quite easy for us to understand as horror fans. However, there is a subgenre of horror that is more complex and, depending upon the filmmaker, can drive audiences crazy while watching this particular film. Now, films such as Possum, Twix, and Santia Sangre are examples of a subgenre of horror that are called surreal horror films. For some reason, they involve a particular plot that can combine elements of disturbing and frightening images along with psychological or grotesque stories. They're kind of hard to understand. Are we watching the film from the mind of the person that we're talking about? Is what they're seeing as part of their mind, of their psychosis, or this is something that's actually happening to them? Films like that is what we call surreal or horror films, or some people might call them artsy horror films. Now, some of the best of these films that fit in this category are Black Swan, The Neon Demon, Tenane, and Midsommar. Most of all those films they have surreal elements in their particular film. Especially in the Neon Demon. When we see some of the events that take place in this film, you must think, what in the hell are these people doing? It's like, come on, guys, you really can't be that desperate. I want to mention what happens in the film, but if you've seen the Neon Demon, you know what I'm talking about. The same thing in Tenane. That's more, you can get more of that surrealism in those Gallo films. And Tenane is a great example. And it's Midsummer. Oh boy, some of the stuff that happened in that particular film definitely have surreal moments in that one. Now, that brings us to American filmmaker Teresa Sutherland's latest project in a film that she calls Lovely, Dark, and Deep. Very interesting title. Now, we're introduced to Lennon. She is a new backcountry ranger for I think it's pronounced Ambrose National Park. I might be wrong. Now, while arriving at the briefing, we learn that the park has had a series of campers that have disappeared, which kind of plays into the reason why Lenny is at this park. We hear on the broadcast they're talking about this park, and we hear a lot of people disappearing. Campers have gone disappearing. Some of the rangers have disappeared. As a matter of fact, the beginning of the film, we see a ranger that we now know has also disappeared. So that kind of plays in, but that plays the reason why Lenny is at this particular park. And that is because a tragedy took place at this park during her childhood, and the guilt from that tragedy still haunts her to this particular day. So Lennon is determined to solve that mystery and hopefully get some answers to what happened on that fateful day. So that's basically what this movie is about. Now, first of all, you have to give Teresa Sutherland credit from how well the film looks, as her team takes advantage of the location where they shot the film. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this film was made in somewhere in Portugal, but you got to give credit to how well the film looks, very well produced. The cinematography has to give credit to how well this film looks. Very well, looks like a very well produced, high budget film. And that's because the forest where they shot this film at plays an important role because it looked magnificent at times, looked very peaceful and lovely at times. Other times it looks creasy and isolated. And of course, finally, there's this looks dark and evil and pitch black, and you know that there's something wrong here. I mean, even the sounds and the music that Teresa uses gives the film the right type of atmosphere and tone, playing to the mystery of what's happening at this particular park. Now, for the first part of the movie, it's a bit of a slow burn. Really, not much happens. We get to see Lennon go about her daily routine while at the same time conducting her own investigation. You know, really not much happens. We get some moments here, some moments there, but it's basically just seeing Lennon just, going around doing her job as a backcountry ranger. No, after an event that happens during the second act of the film, that's when the film moves into a different direction. Oh, we get to see more of Lennon's backstory as if we're taking a ride into her mind. Seeing some of the events that led to the tragedy that took place at this park. We get some of those moments in this particular part of the film. Now, some of the images we see are quite disturbing. I'm like, wow, that's gross, that's disgusting. While others are really not, as if Teresa really didn't want to push the envelope. I can understand. It seems like she was more focusing on the story aspect about the tragedy that took place in Lenning, as opposed to just dealing with the imagery that she uses for this particular part of the story. It looks like she just wanted to at least not, as I call in most of these films, mind fuck the audience, but she doesn't want to do that here. Now, English actress Georgina Campbell, known for her roles in Barbarian and Bird Box Barcelona, she's very good as Lennon here. I mean, she gives Lennon the type of strength, determination, frustration, and fear that this character needs. She basically carries the film because it's a very small cast and she plays most of the parts. There are times when it's just her, or it might be some other characters, in the film. But it's mainly up to her. She's the one that really carries the film, and it's her performance that makes the film worth watching. I mean, she does have some brief interactions with Nick Blood, who plays another park ranger in here, but it's mainly just Georgina Campbell's role here. She's the one that dominates most of the characters in the film. Like I said, we get to see some other aspects of the character as she goes on through a little, what we call, I guess they say, self-discovering journey that I believe Teresa wanted her to take in order to find out what's actually happening here at this particular park. Now, I'm sure that most people who have seen this film might be frustrated on what happens during the third act of the film and not getting a full explanation of the events that have occurred here. And I kind of believe that Teresa felt it was better to keep that aspect of mystery, keep the audiences guessing, put that little mystery aspect in there because most people believe showing less is better. It's like when talk about the film like The Babadook, a lot of people thought that that was simply going to be a creature feature film, but that was more about grief and death and dealing with grief. Here, this is something totally different. This is more about Teresa and the guilt that she feels about the tragedy that's happening. However, in this particular aspect, I believe that causes the film to fall flat. I really don't know, but there is something missing in this particular film. It's not a bad film, but when we get to that third act and we're seeing all the surrealism that we see what Teresa's going through, and obviously we get sort of an explanation about what's happening, what's causing these people to disappear. But to me, it's simply just not enough. It's not enough to get the audience more invested in the story. Maybe if Teresa had pushed the envelope a little bit more, this might have been a much better film. So instead, we get sort of a decent surreal horror film. We get a nice attempt here with some good acting, some nice scenery, and some very disturbing images. But unfortunately, overall, the film falls flat at the end. So I'm going to give Lovely, Dark, and Deep only 2 out of my 5 bloody gold coins. It's a fairly made decent film. It's like I said, it's well produced, shot beautifully, very well. They take advantages of the scenery there in Portugal. Nice acting by Georgina Campbell, but like I said before, the film falls flat, particularly during the second and third act of the film, where we just don't. I think that Teresa misses the opportunity to really grab the audience attention, but she decides to not push the envelope, and then the whole thing falls flat. So there you have it, guys. That is my review of Lovely, Dark, and Deep. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, like, and share. It really helps out with that YouTube algorithm. Have you seen this particular movie? Did you enjoy it? Did you understand what was going on? Leave your comments in the comment section below and tell you what you thought about the film. Now, also, if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscriber button and ring the notification bell. That way, we notify anytime when I put a new video such as this one. Once again, my name is Lamont Smith, better known as the Horror Miser Money G. And always remember that horror rules. And I'll see you in my next video. You guys stay safe out there.